Welcome back, everyone, to the 5 Thoughts series here on the Backmarkers F1 show. This time it is the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix edition. A little bit harder to get my 5 thoughts for this race, as it was a classic Spanish Grand Prix. Classic in the fact that we got no overtakes and virtually not a lot of on-track action, but nevertheless, I'm here to bring you my 5 important thoughts from the race. So let's not waste any more time and dive straight into the 5 essential thoughts from the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix. Number 1. Ferrari's new chief strategist pays off. If you guys weren't paying attention, there was a new hiring mid-race at Scuderia Ferrari at the Spanish Grand Prix, and it was the promotion of Sebastian Vettel to chief strategist. You can't help but laugh when Vettel's team radio graphic pops up during the race, because you know it's going to be something good. During qualifying, Vettel opted for a radio silent approach to his engineer, but during the race, he once again had to take matters into his own hands and decide his strategy for the race. After pitting to the soft tire, Vettel inquired about the pace he should be doing in relation to whether they will go to the end or have to stop once again. At the time of the message, it didn't really seem like he got a concrete answer, which explains his frustration many laps later. His race engineer asked if he could go to the end of the race on those current tires.
What do you think about going to the end with these tires?
For fuck's sake, I asked you this before. Now I've been pushed for 3 laps.
Even though Vettel was pissed, he obliged because they really had nothing to lose, and in the end he actually managed to come home in a decent 7th place. When it was all said and done, Sebastian completed a whopping 37 laps on the soft tire and managed to pull off a successful one-stop strategy. It wasn't easy though, considering what his front tires looked like at the end of the race in Parc Ferme. The Spanish Grand Prix was just another example of the slow deterioration of the trust between team and driver. It also seems like Ferrari isn't too concerned with assisting Vettel in getting better results for the team. When Leclerc had his engine issue, many online joked that Ferrari had actually pulled the plug on the wrong car. It's really sad to see the state of Ferrari and Vettel's relationship in 2020, no matter what side of the fence you're on. It was a decent weekend for Vettel and a slight improvement over the last 2 weeks, but Ferrari are still miles off the pace. It looks as if in the coming races, Sebastian Vettel will have to assume the role as his own chief strategist and pretty much drive for himself for the remainder of his Ferrari career. Number 2. The old guys make F1 history. I think everyone will agree that this wasn't the most exciting F1 race, but the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix will be memorable as 2 drivers enter the record books on Sunday. Kimi Raikkonen and Lewis Hamilton both made a little bit of their own history during the race, as they both set records they can be proud of. 40-year-old Kimi Raikkonen set the record for the most kilometers driven, with 83,978 kilometers, more than any other driver in F1 history. To put that into perspective, the circumference of the Earth is 40,700 kilometers, so technically the Iceman has done 2 tours of the Earth in an F1 car. It's also important to note that Kimi Raikkonen set the record for being the last man on Earth to even care about this record. When asked about how he feels about making F1 history, Raikkonen had this to say.
Normal.
Classic Kimi, right? Hamilton, on the other hand, achieved a slightly more impressive record on Sunday in Spain. With his victory, Hamilton surpassed Michael Schumacher's record of 155 podium finishes and is now the all-time leader with 156 podium finishes in Formula One. It was such an easy victory for Hamilton that this record will be slightly overlooked, but it's quite an amazing achievement for the 35-year-old Brit. With the way this 2020 season is shaping up, Hamilton is on a path to break or equal many other Schumacher records. His victory in Spain moved him 4 wins away from breaking Michael's all-time wins record, and his 37-point lead in the championship has him well on his way to equaling the incredible record of 7 Drivers' World Championships. Number 3. Racing Point finally maximized results. It was a return to the site of the debut of the controversial Racing Point saga in Formula One. Racing Point headed to Barcelona feeling pretty good about their chances at a track they did very well at during winter testing. They were also fired up about the return of veteran driver Sergio Perez after missing 2 races. Their pace didn't disappoint as they qualified 4th and 5th, and as a team, they were finally able to execute a successful race strategy for both cars that maximized the performance and results of the team. Racing Point at times this year have shown a race-winning capable pace in their car, but they haven't been able to bring all elements together to bring both cars home in a high points paying position. To their satisfaction, though, they were finally able to get it done at the Spanish Grand Prix. Lance Stroll actually had a lot to prove after a disappointing Silverstone outing, and he absolutely delivered with a blistering start. He passed his teammate and the Mercedes of Valtteri Bottas to hold P3 for a handful of laps. After the race settled down a little bit, Racing Point split strategies by putting Stroll on a 2-stop and Perez on a 1-stop. This worked out really well considering Sergio Perez is a master of tire management, and he was even ahead of his teammate who was on fresher tires. It was unfortunate for Sergio to get that 5-second penalty, which, oddly enough, has actually happened to him quite a few times this season when he ends up running in the top 5. Luckily for Racing Point, they had a big enough gap to maintain 4th and 5th and secure their best result of the 2020 season. With that result, the Pink Panthers now take over 3rd in the constructors' standings, which is a great result for them considering the team controversies of the past few weeks. Number 4. It's time to move on from Barcelona. I know I probably don't have to say it, but I will anyways. It's time to rid the F1 calendar of the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. We were hoping for a thrilling fight between Red Bull and Mercedes and another exciting race with high drama and tire issues, but that was all a dream considering the track we were racing on. If we're being honest, what else did we really think was going to happen at the Spanish Grand Prix? I was hopeful for a dramatic race, but it just really didn't happen. It's a track that is notoriously difficult to overtake, and actually statistically speaking, it's more important to be on pole position here than in Monaco. But it's not all the track's fault either. The modern F1 cars being so wide and aerodynamically sensitive just provides us with the lethal combination of boring racing and predictability. Spain absolutely deserves to have some form of F1 action in their country, but I don't think it comes in the form of this racetrack. Personally, the circuit is brilliant for testing. The combination of slow, medium, and high-speed corners provides a lot of challenges to drivers and gives the teams an excellent examination of their cars in the preseason. But with all that running and all that data in winter, it just doesn't translate to good, exciting racing come race day. With some of the new tracks like Portimao and Mugello being added this year, I hope that F1 gets the opportunity to replace the circuit with something that allows for more exciting racing. I know we can't have classic races every weekend, but this circuit has provided us with the same problems for many years now, and it won't get any better. Number 5. Driver of the Day, Carlos Sainz. It hasn't been the smoothest operation so far in 2020 for Carlos Sainz. It's been a mixed bag of bad luck and unfortunate strategy calls that saw Sainz out of the top 10 driver standings before the Spanish Grand Prix. After a superb 2019 season, it was Carlos's younger teammate who actually had been carrying the team so far this season, so Sainz was due for a good race weekend. And what better place to do it than your home country's race in Spain? A change to Sainz's power unit really paid dividends for qualifying and the race. Sainz started in P7 and ended up bringing home a strong P6 finish for McLaren. In comparison to his teammate who started 8th and finished 10th, it was perfect execution from McLaren to make the 2-stop work and get Sainz ahead of the Ferrari and Red Bull of Vettel and Albon. Sainz's brilliant defensive driving also stood out in his battle with Albon, and we got to see the strong race pace that Sainz showed us so many times in 2019. A lot of credit also has to go to the McLaren mechanics, as all of their pit stops for both cars were under 3 seconds, which made a sizable difference in the battle off of pit road. Sainz after the race was quoted as saying, "A very good day for me and the team. To finally get a good result after the issues of the previous 4 races feels great, and I honestly think that we deserve it." It hasn't been the best start to the season for the Spaniard, but if you're a Sainz fan, you have to consider the positives in the fact that Carlos is now 9th in the Drivers' Championship and McLaren 4th in the Constructors. Alright, well that'll do it guys for my 5 thoughts from the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix. Now as you know, it's your turn. Get down in the comments below. Let me know what your race reactions and thoughts were to the Spanish Grand Prix. Get them in the comments below. We always love to hear from you. Of course, no race coming up next weekend, so we'll be back with Tyler later in this week to recap the 2020 Spanish Grand Prix, and we'll also start to look ahead to a race in Spa 2 weeks from now. If you like this video and you're not subscribed to us yet, consider giving us a subscribe, and hit that bell also for notifications so you never miss a new video from the Backmarkers F1 Show channel. I thank you guys for joining me today, and have yourselves a great day. We'll see you next time.